Hi BookTube, my name is Sarah and welcome to the Bookish Knitter. Today I am coming to you with my June 2022 events video. So as I said in my June 2022 TBR video that came out on Tuesday, this is the week of the TBR for videos on this channel. So I did my must-read books for the month of June in that video. Now I want to talk about two events that are happening here on BookTube that I am participating in. And I'm very, very excited about both of them. So I'm going to be sharing with you guys my TBR for both of them. I'm not going to get into what all of these books are about because I have a lot of them on this list. But I'm going to share them with you. I will leave a list of all the books below so you guys can go ahead and check them out for yourselves if the covers look interesting to you. So the two events, the first one is the Read Your eReader event. And this is being hosted by Janie over at the Bookworms Buddy. I will leave a link to her announcement video in the description box below. The other one is June on the Range. The reason I'm laughing is because I do not think what I am going to be sharing with you guys for what I'm going to be reading is at all what the creators intended. So June on the Range is being hosted by a bunch of different booktubers, the ones that I know and that I watch. Steve Donahue, the Bookish Bryants, Michael K. Vaughan, and Criminali. So I'll leave link to all of them below. And then from there you can see the other hosts. I guess they will have them in their announcement videos or whatever. There are a couple of other hosts, but unfortunately I'm not familiar with them. So anyway, essentially that is to read books that are Westerns. And I'm putting my own spin on it. So in the description box below as well, if you want to go ahead, the first thing I'll list is a timestamp. If you want to jump ahead to the June on the Range and just hear about those books, you absolutely can. Or you can, stay and listen to the books I have picked for the Read Your eReader challenge. So like I said, this is being hosted by Janie over at the Bookworms Buddy. And she has 10 prompts. So I picked a book for each prompt, and all of these books are on my my Kindle, but chances are some of them I will be listening to on audio if I can get them from the library and such. So the first prompt for this one is a beachy read, and I will be reading Paradise Cove by Jenny Holiday. This is the second book in the Matchmaker Bay series. I have read book number 1. I am looking forward to this one. This is actually a series that takes place in Canada. It takes place in Ontario. You would know from looking at, I think the assumption for most people is that's not what Ontario looks like, but that's not the ocean. That's actually like a beach by a lake. So there you go. The next prompt is a first book in a series, and I will be reading Spring at Saddle Run by Delores Fossen. This is the first book in the Last Ride Texas series. Next up, we have a second book in a series, and I'll be reading Dreaming at Seaside by Addison Fox. This is the second book in the Sweet with Heat Seaside Summer series. Now, I've mentioned before, this is not a series that I'm a huge fan of, mainly because I don't like the whole sweet with heat connotation on here because these books are not sweet. They do go behind closed doors. You are getting adult content. So if a book is labeled sweet, all that should be completely behind closed doors, you know what I mean? But now going into it, knowing what I know about these books, I can at least know what I'm getting into. So it will not bother me as much. And essentially all these books are rewrites of books that she has written under the name Addison Fox is her pen name. It's Melissa Foster. And these are part of the Seaside Summer series. She rewrote them as the Sweet with Heat kind of an idea. So there is that, but the covers are just so pretty. I can't say no. Prompt number 4 is a book with summer in the title. I will be reading The Summer Seekers by the great Sarah Morgan. I am really looking forward to this one. I cannot wait. It is a women's fiction novel. It's going to be spectacular. Next up, we have a book with flowers on the cover. I will be reading A Wildflower Summer by Carolyn Flynn. I have never read this author before. I am very excited to be checking this book out, and it looks really, really cute. Next up is a book cover that is blue, coral, or yellow. And this one is definitely a very blue feeling cover, and that is That Summer in Maine by Brianna Wolfson. This one looks really cute. I believe it's a women's fiction chick lit novel, but definitely summery vibes. Looking forward to it. The next one, this is the one I had the hardest time with. And that is a book with a sun on the cover. Like, surprisingly, guys, this was difficult. But I came up with this one. The sun is setting. I love the cover of this book. We have Death in the Sunshine by Steph Broadribb. This is book number 1 in the Retired Detectives Club series. So this is about a group of retired detectives who live in Florida who solve a mystery. But I don't think this is cozy at all, you guys. I mean, even judging from the cover, I don't believe this is a cozy. Cozy denotes an amateur sleuth to me. So the fact that these are retired police officers or detectives or what have you does not mean that they're amateurs. They have training. So yeah, this would not be a cozy mystery. It's just a mystery, and I'm really looking forward to it. Next up, we have a book with water on the cover. So that will be The Summer Getaway by Susan Mallery. I am a big fan of Susan Mallery. Her last couple books have been a hit and miss for me, so we shall see what I think about this one. The next one is a book you would not normally read. And for this one, I have it, and I'm looking forward to it. And it's The Final Girls Support Group by Grady Hendrix. So I do read thrillers, and I do like thrillers quite a bit. However, this is a horror novel, I think. So we shall see what I think about it. I don't know. We shall see, my friends. We shall see. And last but not least, we have a travel book. And I'll be reading That Night in Paris by Sandy Barker. This is the second book in the holiday romance series. So this entire series all take place in different locations. I think the first book was Santorini. This one is in Paris. So obviously travel is included in these books. I'm really looking forward to it. So now the second group of books for this June events video is, as I've already mentioned, June on the Range, hosted by Steve Donahue, The Bookish Bryants, Michael K. Vaughan, Criminale. So yeah, I am really looking forward to this. So the whole point when I saw this video was like to read Westerns. And all I could think about were those old paperback Westerns that you saw in, my grandfather loved them. Like he had them by the stackful at the cottage, like, and he would read through one in just a few hours and just, you know, then go to the thrift store and buy a whole bunch more. And, you know, and he loved them. And that's what I originally thought about, that I'm like, of course, Lonesome Dove and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, Westerns really aren't my jam. I won't be participating. And I'm like, duh. Westerns are totally your jam because you love a good cowboy romance. So like I said, I do not think at all that this is what these gentlemen or the hosts of this challenge had in mind when they put together June on the Range. But I am participating. I have 8 books, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 books picked that are all cowboy romances. So this is how I'm participating. So there's no prompts for this or anything at all like that. So what I did was I picked 2 books that were single title, and then the other 6 are category romances, which you guys know are my jam. I love my categories. But I made sure to get a different cowboy romance from a bunch of different category romances, because I think it'll be fun to see how all the different lines do cowboy romance, if that makes sense. So the first book I have, you cannot do a list like this. There are a handful of authors that write really good cowboy romances. Delores Fossen, who I've already mentioned earlier in this video, with her book, what is it called again? Spring at Saddle Run. That would absolutely count for this as well. She's a fabulous, fabulous writer of cowboy romances. Next up, you cannot, like I said, have this list without mentioning the great Maisey Yates. So I will be reading Unbroken Cowboy by Maisey Yates, which is the 5th book in the Gold Valley series. I jumped around in this series when I was reading it, but I'm almost certain this is the last one that I need to read to finish or catch up to the series. I don't know if she's continuing with it or not, but I think this might be like the last one that I need to fit in. The next one is Carolyn Brown. Carolyn Brown, again, cowboy romances are kind of synonymous with Carolyn Brown. I'll be reading one of her slightly older books, and that is I Love This Bar. And it's book number 1 in the Honky Tonk Cowboys series. And I think all 3 of the books in this series are named after country songs. So there's this one. I think the second book is called Hell Yeah, which is a Montgomery Gentry song. And I Love This Bar is a fabulous Toby Keith song. It's one of my favorite Toby Keith songs, actually. It's really funny. Now on to the category romances. So we have In a Cowboy's Arms by Rebecca Winters. This is the first book in the Hitting Rocks Cowboys series, and it is a Harlequin. I think it was still the American Romance line. The cover will tell me different, I'm sure. But it may have already been changed to the Western Romance line at the time. But it is, I still consider it to be a American Romance. Then we have Hot Texas Nights by Janice Maynard. This is the first book in the Texas Cattlemen's Club Houston series. You're looking at that cover going, that's not really very Western. This is a desire novel, so these are spicy. And the Texas Cattlemen's Club is a long-running series within the Desire line about different, like the Texas Cattlemen's Club is like this ultra-wealthy kind of like boys club. They're allowing women, like the newer books have women members as well. But back in the day, it was like a boys club. And then like you would have like these little, like each series would be based on a different location essentially. So this one takes place in Houston, Texas. So next we have Reunited with the Cowboy by Claire McEwen. This is the first book in the Heroes of Shelter Creek series. And this is a heartwarming novel. So this is a sweet romance, no adult content. I really like these ones a lot, and I like Claire McEwen as well. Next up, we have a historical. You can't do one of these without having a historical Western. So we have The Lone Rancher by Carol Finch. This is the first book in the Cahill Cowboy series. So the historical romance line from Harlequin no longer does Western romances. And that makes me sad because I loved the Western romances that they did. Now, a few months back, or late last year, Bri and I, with the Categorically Romance podcast, had the joy to be able to interview the editor for the historical line. And that was one of the questions I asked, was what happened to the Westerns? And essentially the easiest explanation that she gave is that the historical novels sell the best in Europe. The UK and Europe is where they really sell. That's why here in North America, you will not see the historicals on shelves at your Walmart or your other big box store or what have you. It's because they don't sell here as much as they do, which is surprising considering how big Bridgerton is and how much people really love historical romance books. But I think the people who read historical romance tend to bypass the Harlequin historicals, which you're doing a disfavor because these books are fantastic. But anyway, that's besides the point. So the reason they stopped doing the Western romances is because those people in Europe or the UK or what have you are not as familiar with the American West. Which seems odd, but I get it. I understand. You're giving your readers what they want. That's kind of what Harlequin's game plan is. So that's why you don't see them anymore. But there's a plethora of them that were released before by some great authors. So Kate Bridges did some great ones. They were set in Canada, like in the frontier. Carol, what did I say her name was? Carol Finch. Lisa Plumley, her stuff is being, I think she got the rights back to all of her books and she's republishing them independently. So you can check those out like on Amazon or whatever. But anyway, so this one is one that I will be reading as well. Sorry for that little tangent. Then we have Cowboy's Rescue by Marie Ferrarella, which is the first book in the Colton 911 series. This is a romantic suspense novel, and I love them. So this is from the Harlequin romantic suspense line, but in all honesty, when I think cowboy suspense books, definitely the intrigue line with B.J. Daniels. But I've been reading a lot of B.J. Daniels lately, or not. Have I been? I think it was more of a fact that I couldn't find one that I had already, a book that I already owned. That wasn't like later on in a series. I think that's why I didn't go with a B.J. Daniels. But I wanted to go with a romantic suspense. So yeah, Marie Ferrarella is a go-to. But I'm really looking forward to this one. And last but not least, we have The Rancher's Summer Secret by Christine Rimmer. Book 1 in the Montana Mavericks, The Real Cowboys of Bronco Heights series. This is a special edition novel. It is a contemporary romance. I love that we have a plus-size model on the cover. That makes me super happy. And I have read a later book in this series. So again, the Montana Mavericks, much like the Texas Cattlemen's Club, is a long-running miniseries within the special edition line. I think the Montana Mavericks have been around for about 20 years. So again, you get these miniseries, and there's one that comes out every year, and it's a continuity. So the 6 books that are written, each one is written by a different author. So they're kind of given this Bible of, here's the plot of this like story or this overarching plot line. this is, and here's what, and you do your own thing with it. Like, here's your characters, you write the story, but kind of here's the Bible of everybody else in a way. So it's, the continuities are really, really interesting, and I like them a lot. But like I said, I read a later one in the series, so now I'm going to jump back and read the first one. But these are all about cowboys and ranchers. So anyway, you guys, rambling on this one. As you guys know, I can talk all day long about category romance because it makes me happy. But if you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. But these are the books that I have picked for these events. So as I spin the wheel every Friday for the whole pick my next book, you'll probably see a lot of these books coming up. Whether I get to all of them is one thing, probably not, but I have a good long list of books to pick from, which is always exciting. So anyway, you guys, that is all that I have for this video today. I do hope that you enjoyed it, and I will talk to you all in my next video. Take care and happy reading, everybody. Bye.